maintainability of our trading results is very important, and for that we maintain our journal to create an edge. And you talk about that most of the trader in the world, their betting average is between 45 to 55%, or maybe 60%. So create and that best edge. What could be the best ratio of an average gain? 1:3, 1:4, 1:5. What could be the what is your pick on what could be the best ratio, risk reward ratio?
What's the best ratio?
Yeah.
Well, you want the ratio to be as big, as high as possible. The bigger the ratio is, the wider the ratio that you keep your reward versus your risk. So let's just say you average 15% on your gains and you average 5% on your losses. So that would be a 3-to-1 ratio, right? So that's going to allow you to have a much lower batting average and not get in trouble more than if you had a 2-to-1. So if you have a 2-to-1, now you're going to have a higher batting average to get the same results as if you have a 3-to-1. So the batting average, the way I do it is I want to be able to sustain a batting average of 25% and still not get myself into trouble. 25 to 35%, because in a bad market, my batting average goes down sometimes to 25%, where even sometimes lower, where you're wrong, 8 out of 10 trades. So that's where you got to be able to sustain that, because that's going to happen at some point. And so if my reward to risk is 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, well, then I'm not going to get in much trouble, even if I have the batting average. And when things turn around and my batting average is doing well, like in a really good bull market, I'm in the 65, 70% range for certain periods. Now I'm making tons of money, because now that ratio is going to really start adding up.
All right, Mark, I have a follow-on question in that. Whenever we are executing a trade, at that moment, do we think about these ratios, that for this trade I can expect 1:2, or for this category I'll expect 1:4, and your capital allocation is also different as per the risk reward ratio?
That's a great question. So, and I always say, you want to let the math make its way, let the spreadsheet make its way into your trading. So to a certain extent, yes, you should have that math in the back of your head. But here's what happens. So you're in a trade, and let's just say it turns into a loss, because this is where the real trouble happens, is when you have losses. The gains sort of take care of themselves, but handling the losses is really where the real trick is. So now you're at a loss. Let's say stock goes against you. It's down 4 or 5%, right? Starts going down a bit more. It's down 6%, now 7%. Well, this is the time where you have to know in the back of your head, what is my average gain? What is my batting average? Well, my batting average is about 45, 50%. I'm right about half the time. And not mine, I'm just saying hypothetically. And my average gain is 12%. Well, the closer that gets to 12%, there should be an alarm going off in your head saying, I can't take more than 12% losses, or I'm a loser. I'm a losing trader, right? Now the risk reward, the reward risk ratio is inverting. So you need to be definitely cognizant of that and trying to keep that. You want to keep your loss as tight as possible, and you want to keep your gain as big as possible. At some point, though, you're going to optimize those numbers. If you've been trading long enough, your strategy is going to get to a point where you pretty much you get the most you can on the upside in good markets, and you keep your loss as small as you can, with balancing it between being too tight and choking off the trade, or having too large losses and having them affect you negatively. So, you just have to be aware of that, and then constantly strive. Now, here's another thing too. Let's say you're at a gain. You're at 20% gain, 25% gain. Your average gain is 12%, right? So now the stock comes back down. Well, once you're above your average gain, what happens to your average gain? It improves. You're helping your average gain, and that's the goal. The goal is to get your average gain as big as possible. So as it comes back down, you got to be thinking to yourself, do I want to let this slip below my average gain and now hurt my average gain? So now you go into that profit protection mode, and that's a good number to be protecting and trying to improve above. So again, knowing what your average gain is lets you know how to manage those gains sorry, above those levels. And again, being cognizant of those numbers and letting the numbers make their way into your trading. Yes, it's important.
Excellent.
If you allow me to ask this question, what is your average gain? I mean, you may prefer not to answer. I mean, it's your choice.
Yeah, well, it changes. I mean, long term, my average gain runs in low double digits. I'm much more of a trader now than ever. This last in 2021, I didn't do the numbers, but it was definitely in the single digits because I was trading everything at the strength, 5, 6, 7, 8%. Like if I got 12 or 15% gains, that was huge because you just weren't getting those gains. And that's another thing too. You have to, the theme of the market's important. That was the theme in 2022. The theme was what I called pop and drop. They would take off for a few days and then they come in, and before you know it, you're at a loss. So in about February, I said, you know what? I'm just going to sell into that first move up, keep my stop real tight, and trade a lot more here and take big positions, and I can get to that big number. And when I start selling these stocks and they keep going higher and I wish that I held them, then I'll think about changing. It never happened. It still hasn't happened. It's been a long time now, and we haven't gotten that sustainable. And that was one of the main things that told me we were late stage in the market and to start looking for a bear market, because that was the early warning, if you will.
So do you make more money in bull market or in bear market?
Oh, I definitely make all my money in bull markets. In bear markets, I'm in cash, and I'm usually not trading at all, or I'm trading with a very small portion of my capital just to keep a finger on the pulse, so to let me know when I start gaining some traction, and then I can start putting more money into the market and getting aggressive.